All right. Scott Trench in the house. What's up?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man. We are very excited to have you. This
Yeah,
is
it's episode 100, right? For us.
episode 100 for us. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a big one.
This is
Well,
a big
honored.
one.
Thank you for inviting me, and always excited to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're all here in Colorado, but all in different locations. David and I are in our beautiful basements, and you actually are in a nice Bigger Pockets headquarters. So
Yeah, I
David
was
has
particularly impressed with David's background decorations.
he's done a lot. He's done a lot with
Hey,
it. He's really
check
creative.
it out, guys. Check it out. Hey, I will tell you, the basement does relate to what the future is going to be. It's a good, I don't want to call it a dad failure. I call it a mom failure. Sometimes we start with some parent failures, Scott, and we're setting our basement up. We have a hockey table, air hockey, and we have a little basketball thing that, good competition. But my wife and I have been known to be a little bit tiny competitive. And my wife and my daughter were playing air hockey, close game. Maya kept putting her hands over the edge, so it was hitting her. And she got upset. And Erica's like, "Don't put your hand over the edge. Like, you don't do that. You just don't do that." And so Maya, my daughter, said, "Well, don't you care?" And Erica said, "Well, yeah, but we're playing a game. Don't do that." And she got sensitive and she walked away. And my wife says, "You quit, I win."
I think that's perfectly logical. Got to learn sometime.
Oh, it's so good. My daughter's crying. She's like, "You don't even care. My hand hurts." And she's like, "Dude, we're playing a game. It's a competition. You quit, I win. See ya." The next kid cycled in. And so I think it was a mom win and failure at the same time. It's a good life lesson there.
What would you have done?
Same thing, man. You can't quit. You quit in the middle of it, you forfeit. Like, that's it. Like, what? You got to work through the pain, right?
Makes sense.
One
day.
Similar. Have you guys? I didn't even know this game like I played it when I was a kid, but my son, he's 4, Scott, and we give him like an allowance every now and then, and he really wanted to go to the store and buy something. So he went to the store yesterday and he bought Hungry Hippo. Have you ever played Hungry Hippo? Like,
I have.
He brought it home last night and we played for hours. And similar, like I wasn't going to just play easy. Like I was playing my heart out, just slamming hippos, and like my son was like getting angry because I kept on winning. And I think as a dad, we should show our kids that they're not gonna win every time, right? Like they're not gonna get a trophy every time.
I think that's right. I think Hungry Hippo is a great analogy for the 2021 real estate investing world.
Oh,
yeah, that's good. That's good.
I do.
That's why you're Scott Trench. That's why you're CEO of Bigger Pockets.
Everyone's just gobbling up as many properties as they possibly can. Doesn't matter what the price is. Just clicking. Yeah. So
I love that, man. That's great.
That was my attempt. Yeah.
That's good, man.
Well,
hey,
Scott, real quick before you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, what I've appreciated about you and where I met you in Annapolis. I think you had just given a talk to some midshipmen about financial future and just being financially set for life, right? The book that you wrote, and I think your passion to serve others, to help others, to love on them, to achieve their highest and best and become financially free so they can be truly achieve what they were created to be. I think that passion is awesome. I respect it. The fact that you put it in a book. I respected the fact that you took your time to come out to Annapolis, talk to a bunch of midshipmen, future naval leaders, and that you sat down with us, a couple knucklehead officers, and we broke bread at the Great Iron Rooster. And I think just your heart to do that. I want to make sure that that's captured before you. I'm sure you're going to talk about yourself and you'll be overly humble, but I want to make sure our audience knows that you have such a heart for service and such a heart to give back and see people achieve their best. And that's a mission, Bigger Pockets mission as well, to help people achieve this level of financial independence. And I just want to throw that out there before you kind of give your intro to set the scene for who you are and what you bring. So really appreciative of you for doing that.
Oh, well, thanks. And that was that was a lifetime honor to get invited to speak at the Naval Academy. So you don't turn that down. And I've always had a long fascination with the Navy, and I grew up near Annapolis, but the splendor of the Naval Academy there, and I got a fascination with submarines. In another life, I would have been on a submarine and aspiring to become a captain at some point, over a career with that, and wrote my college thesis on that. So like all the military branches, but special place for the Navy, and a big fascination with that.
David got to spend some time on a submarine, didn't you, Dave?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I spent time on multiple submarines, and you know, last time we met, Scott, I was really pushing hard to try and get to see if we could get you on a submarine out in Connecticut. I knew he was the officer in charge at the time, and I was like, hey man, if we can get this guy out there to speak to the sailors, could we get him in a sub? And he's like, we'll try. So it didn't work out, but I'm not giving up on it. We're gonna get you on a submarine one of these days.
Yeah, I always love that. The Admiral Rickover in the nuclear Navy thing was just yeah. So anyways, yeah, thank you for that. And it was great to meet you there, and great to talk to you again now, and love it all.
Yeah, man. So if you could just, most of our audience knows who Scott Trench is and knows Bigger Pockets, but give us a little background about kind of who you are, where you came from. You said you grew up in Maryland, but what after that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Maryland, went to school at Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee for 4 years, graduated in 2013. And right after graduation, I started my career at a Fortune 500 company as a financial analyst, making about $50,000 a year. And immediately within 3 months, kind of stumbled across the financial independence, the FIRE movement, and became obsessed with that. I began following a blog called Mr. Money Mustache, and really kind of, again, drank the Kool-Aid for Mr. Money Mustache. He has a very hardcore, extreme, I think a lot of people would agree, it's an extreme mentality around savings and bringing your annual spending as low as possible in order, one, to accumulate more wealth, but two, require less wealth to actually fund that long-term lifestyle, right? If you spend $25,000 a year, you both accumulate more money and you need less passive cash flow to sustain that lifestyle. So really, really drank that Kool-Aid. And simultaneously, you know, I realized, okay, that's great. I have a 10-year path to retirement, but is there a faster path that I can do? And that's where real estate came in. So I got really interested in real estate as well and began following a company called Bigger Pockets. In 2014, I started my career in August 2013. By the next August 2014, I was under contract on my first rental property. I might have been a month away. I got on a contract in October, but about a year after I started my career, I was under contract on my first rental property, duplex house hack, and I had joined the startup Bigger Pockets as the third employee at that point. And then from there, from 2014 to the present, I've taken more and more operational responsibilities, bought a handful of properties, about one every year and a half, every 18 months, and kind of scaled my portfolio, invested in stocks, and find myself CEO here after our founder stepped back in 2018 and we brought on some private equity partners.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And would you say that your passion when you were you know, with the FIRE movement, is that what kind of prompted the beginnings and set the seeds for the book that you were going to write, Set for Life?
Yeah, I mean, I was obsessed with the FIRE movement. I couldn't, you know, I think maybe many people or some people that are maybe like me, who kind of stumble across this, you go down the rabbit hole and you're like, why was this not something I was taught in school? Why is this not the worldview of essentially everyone with respect to money? So I became a little obsessed with it still obsessed with it. What am I talking about? But I became very obsessed with it and probably was a bit annoying, talking about this to every single person I knew, family, friends, coworkers, you know, random people at the park. And that, I think that obsession kind of, my outlet for that came at Bigger Pockets when, you know, I was the director of operations. So I had to spend, you know, 8 to 5 working on operations here, selling advertisements, customer support, working with the customer support team, doing those types of internal things. But at night from 5 to 10, I'd be writing blog posts and posting on the forums and that kind of stuff. And so the book, really most of the concepts in the book were originally constructed in the form of blog posts over the first 4 or 5 years while I worked here at Bigger Pockets. And eventually I kind of put that all together into a framework because I thought there wasn't a crystal clear path from zero and a median income to a few $100,000 in assets, right? That, to me, that seemed like a formulaic approach. the opportunities available to somebody begin to multiply as you have tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in wealth that you can access outside of your retirement accounts, outside of your home equity. Once you have that, you can start businesses, you can buy real estate, you can buy alternative assets, and the options begin to explode and the paths begin to diverge. But to really get started for that median income earner with little to nothing working a full-time job, I thought there was lacking a path to kind of get from zero to 500,000 or so in net worth in a rapid amount of time.
Yeah, man, it's a great book. I've given your book out a lot to like sailors, sailors in our commands that, they've posed an interest in learning about, finance and money and real estate. It's just a great book to, like, just like you said, kind of set you up for life. It's awesome. Now, Bigger Pockets, like you said, you started there. It was a startup in 2014. Where's Bigger Pockets now? For those that kind of aren't on the website, and kind of give our listeners, like, what is Bigger Pockets now?
Yeah, what is Bigger Pockets now? Bigger Pockets, I think, is evolving to, or we're kind of shooting for this, is like one-stop shop, right? So when you want to invest in real estate, there's an entry price, and it's not just in dollars in the form of down payment. It's a several hundred-hour investment of time in learning about all these financial models, or all these frameworks that go along with investing. How to deal with tenants. Should I allow pets in my rentals? Should I form an LLC or not? What type of financing should I use? What is cash flow? What is CapEx? And how does that relate to my cash flow? And those frameworks, I think, only kind of fall into place neatly over the course of, I think, a several hundred-hour investment in self-education. And what's more is there are general things that apply to every real estate investment, like how to manage your taxes or how to compute cash flow. And there are hyper local or regional differences, right? There's going to be a different strategy for investing in the Midwest versus on the coasts. And there's going to be a different strategy for investing in a specific neighborhood in Memphis, Tennessee versus one in Indianapolis, right? And those nuances, I think those frameworks really come about by immersing yourself in a world of hearing other successful investor stories, maybe nationwide, and also meeting with and learning from people in your local market. And so I think that's what we're trying to build here, is this place where there's an ocean of constantly refreshed current content that discusses the high level frameworks, and as they're slowly changing with national market trends, but also all the stuff that you can go to find about your local market and meet local service professionals and on people. So what are we? We're trying to be everything, right? We have a podcast, a YouTube channel, a blog, forums, and in a world you can go and immerse yourself in to learn about all this real estate. And then you can also meet your team, agents, lenders, property managers, or find and analyze deals on the platform. So it's kind of that one-stop shop experience that we're trying to build for investors.
Yeah, man, it's pretty awesome. I mean, like, just like you said, hundreds of hours. You can get lost in biggerpockets.com all day long. You can spend hours and hours and hours. So we saw you at the Best Ever conference 2 years ago here in Colorado, and you spoke, and you said something that I thought was really, really interesting. And you kind of talked about the mission of Bigger Pockets, and you talked about, a goal of yours is just teaching financial literacy and financial freedom to unlock human potential. What does that mean? Like, how are we unlocking human potential through Bigger Pockets?
Yeah. So what is human potential, right? I think the human potential differs, I think, based on the individual, right? Some people have more and less potential than others, right? Like Stu has more potential than David on this one. I was told to give some shit to David. So yes. That was with that. And then I think it also depends on your age, right? Where some folks are, a younger person who, may have more potential than an older person. And I'm not saying that's like, it's not different from a 30-year-old versus a 40-year-old, but it's definitely different from a 30-year-old versus a 70-year-old, right? Or a 65-year-old.
Right.
And so the idea is, if you can help people remove dependence on wage income early in life, that unlocks their potential. Maybe they still go and work at that same job, but they're there because they want to be there. And that's where they think their talents can be best applied and have the most impact. Or maybe they do something for a nonprofit. Maybe they start a business. Maybe they relax on the beach for 6 months. Maybe they start a blog and just, put out some thought leadership on a subject that needs it in society. But that's what I mean, I think, by unlocking human potential. And one way that we're trying to work towards that is this concept of 1 million millionaires. So that's a long-term goal. We're still kind of zeroing in on how to track that on a user by user basis, but we can certainly learn what percentage of our audience is accredited investors, for example. That's one way to determine, I think your potential has been unlocked if you're an accredited investor, by really either of the two definitions of income or wealth. And so that's the idea. If you can make 1 million people become millionaires or accredited investors, I think that you've created a tremendous amount of downstream potential that might happen on an individual basis from that. And one example I always like to highlight is one of my friends. She's a veterinarian out of Pennsylvania, and veterinarians accumulate a tremendous amount of student loan debt coming out of school, and they make about $70,000 or $80,000 a year. $70,000 or $80,000 a year doesn't sound like bad money, but it's not good compared with relative to the costs of getting that degree. It's like getting a medical degree and going through medical school to make $70,000 or $80,000 a year. So there's actually a high suicide rate among veterinarians. There's a lot of folks that go in there and they go into these programs that are supposed to forgive the loans after 20 years. Talk about unlocking human potential. You're having this person who's going to go through 20 years of professional life with with essentially building no wealth, waiting for that loan to get forgiven at the end of that period. And it's really, the balance is growing each year because the interest payments are bigger than the minimum payments of the income-based contributions. So it's kind of a sad situation. It's a tough world out there with that. Well, anyways, this person bought a number of rental properties, and now she spends her time trying to help other veterinarians finance their vet school in a way that's more advantageous. So Bigger Pockets' purpose is not to save the horses, but by unlocking human potential, that's a downstream impact of that's the type of downstream impact we think we can maybe able to help facilitate over time.
Yeah, that's, we're huge believers in the mindset and the power of not only doing, but once you free up some of these significant barriers to success or significant barriers to purpose, one being finances, the potential there and what you could potentially unlock is so big. And I love that mission. I'm just kind of curious, do you, and I think I know this, but are your passions with Bigger Pockets and your association, obviously you continued driving that business, are they more in line with the education piece? Is it, does it focus around that unlocking potential? Is it the real estate piece? Is it, is it all of it? Like what is driving, like what is scratching your itch every day when you go to Bigger Pockets?
Well, I think it's that, I'm actually agnostic about the tool, right? To get there, for like, from a personal career perspective, it's helping as many people become financially free as possible. But real estate is one tool in the arsenal, right? You have stocks, you have small businesses, you have other types of assets. Like I've written a book. That's one, a path or a component of wealth with that. So there's an infinite number of these approaches there. Real estate just happens to be a very good one for people within a specific range. Like if you're making $50,000 to $200,000 a year, real estate can be and you're working a full-time job, real estate can potentially be a way to get to financial freedom more quickly than a stock investment if you're willing to take on a little bit more risk and pay that entry price in hours to get started with it than a passive stock approach. And it may be less all-in work than starting a podcast or a small business or whatever that is. So that's where I think there's a sweet spot for a chunk of the population. But real estate is not a good option for people who make much less than $50,000 a year, because it's just too hard to get to the starting point of accumulating a down payment and having access to the debt financing you'll probably need to buy property. It's also not a great avenue, I think, for and we have a very small percentage of our user base who's in this bucket, for people who earn over $250,000 a year, because they're not willing in many cases to pay that price of several hundred hours to buy a duplex that they're going to fix up and rent out, because they can just live a middle-class life and accumulate enough wealth and passive investments. So that's it scratches my itch, because it's a good tool for such a wide percentage of the population that is likely to be able to achieve financial freedom.
Go ahead, buddy. You're gonna say something.
it.
Oh, so with running Bigger Pockets, you also do the Bigger Pockets Money podcast with Mindy, and that's a little bit more focused on just the actual use of money, right? It's not really focused on real estate. Out of the hundreds of episodes that you guys have done now, you've talked to a lot of successful people. What would you say is like the magic formula, if there is one? What's the keys to success? When you're interviewing all these people on handling money correctly.
So that's the fun one, right? So Mindy, who co-hosts the show with me, I'll steal her phrase: "Personal finance is personal." So that's one magic phrase, right? Nice. But I'll tell you what the second one is. We do this segment where we call the Finance Friday, where people come in and they give us their complete financial picture, and then we give them a strategy to go forward with that. And it's very easy when someone says, "Here's my goal. Here's what I want in life. How do I do that?" Right. And how do I get there and make that happen? Right. If your goal is to have the largest pile of money you possibly can at 65, okay, there's a strategy for that. Right. Let's put all the money in let's have a very tax advantaged approach. Let's put all the money in retirement accounts. Let's buy real estate. Let's keep a high level of leverage, right? If my goal is in 3 years, I want to be done and have a stable, conservative cash position, you've got another approach, right? And that's that might involve paying off the rental properties, shifting the money out from the retirement accounts and applying it all into a high cash flow, relatively conservative after-tax portfolio, right? So when you have somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, that's the question. So if you're somebody who knows what you want, the strategy will hopefully become very clear very quickly. If you don't know what you want, then the formula that I would hand almost everybody is go for flexibility, right? So build out, the trap that I think a lot of people who don't have intention with their money fall into is they end up with a $400,000 or $500,000 net worth after a 15 or 20 year career, but it's all in their retirement accounts and their home equity. And they've got $3,000 in their bank account and $4,000 in their credit line. And it feels tight month after month after month, like they're not getting ahead anywhere. Stop that. Build the wealth outside of the retirement accounts and outside of the home equity, even if it is not the most efficient thing in the short run, until you have like a year saved up of FU money. And that flexibility, I think, will make you feel a lot better about your position, your situation, even if it's not the most optimized thing for that year's cash flow, for example. How's that to answer your question? There's no right answer, but if you want one, the best direction to start heading is flexibility.
I love it.
That's great. Hey, so, I'm kind of curious, after all these shows and your passion, your study, writing this book, the research you've done, in your opinion, what is the biggest barrier to being financially savvy and having something? Because, you highlight some, and I'm assuming you came up with these, but, like your 5 tactics to help you earn more money, the 7 core tenets of investing. You even broke down, these are all from the book. You even broke down like a daily time log and how you can track your time and equate that to money making activities. And there's a lot of amazing tools, but I feel like there's tools everywhere. There's the internet everywhere. There's Google searches, there's Bigger Pockets. What do you think is the biggest barrier to people actually becoming financially savvy? And how do we address and defeat that?
I think it's probably a cultural and educational component, right? So, money is just it's not polite to discuss at the dinner table. So I don't know if this is true, but like I have to be in the top, 1%, maybe the top 100 or 1,000 people in terms of the amount of different people I've had a money conversation with, maybe outside of like financial planners and all that kind of stuff. And that just can't be. So like I have all these frameworks. It seems so obvious to me, or it seems so clear in many of these cases with that, but most people are not able to get anywhere close to that because they're not having those discussions even at the dinner table with their own family, much less from a variety of different perspectives, because it's just not talked about openly. So I think that's one component. And the second, I'll go right back to the same framework I gave for real estate investing. I think there's a several 100-hour level of investment that one needs to put in to really become, if not an expert, a journeyman on the way of the ins and outs of personal finance in a general sense. And again, a lot of people just don't want to pay that price. They'd rather listen to the true crime podcast or, read the novel or whatever, instead of go through the effort to accumulate those those basic frameworks. So those would be my two best answers on the spot for your question.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when growing up as a kid, just like you're saying, like talking about money was taboo. Like I had no idea what was going on in my parents' world as far as money goes, and I think that was pretty standard, for that generation. And I know David and I both have a goal to really change that, to talk about finances, and I had my son buy his own game with his own money that he earned, to buy Hungry Hippos. And we're playing the game Cash, Robert Kiyosaki's like Cash Flow for Kids, and talking about assets and liabilities and talking about money. But I still don't think that is the norm. So like, how can we shift that? How can we get to a point where we are talking about money and it's not a taboo thing? I mean, is that just something that's never going to change? What do you think?
I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, right? Make it free, make it accessible. And then, we have the next challenge is it's free and accessible already. With that, how do we make it more entertaining than the next thing that is out there for folks, so that when they're in the car and they're on the way home from work, they're listening to a discussion that is informative, and something that they're going to learn from, either so action-packed and so dense with information that it would be foolish to avoid the value of whatever content's out there. And then, or it's fun and entertaining enough to digest. So I think it'll just take time. In the meantime, I will say that I think a consequence of this is income inequality is going to increase, because, I think social media and these, what you're doing with your free time, what kind of music or podcasts or books on tape you're listening to in the car, I think that's going to amplify whatever it is you're interested in. So if you're in this rabbit hole of personal finance, you might be listening to hundreds, you might be listening to everything, and that's going to have a multiplier effect on your wealth over time, versus the person who's not even getting started with that. They're going down another rabbit hole that maybe is going to have a different outcome for them over time, based on what they surround themselves with.
And that'll impact the family down the line too.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm listening to a podcast about money in the car and my kids are in the car at 4 and 7, like I think that's naturally gonna fall down line. It's an interesting point, but kind of scary.
I think it's such a, I think that's a great answer. And I think it's, I think that the fact that we're passionate about it, and not passionate about it from the sense that we're trying to stockpile of a ton of cash and our own assets and live this big baller life. It's the desire to get in front of, like you did, midshipmen, future naval leaders, because then you get in front of those guys and gals, and then they can then potentially push that knowledge to their sailors, and their sailors can push that to their kids, and their kids can, it just starts this cycle. Because I think you make such a good point. And I was actually listening to the final, one of the episodes, Bigger Pockets episodes, where they're talking about, social media and the amount of time. And I just happened to click on this random, I'm not a Floyd Mayweather guy, but he did this awesome little thing where he's like, they're like, why don't you do social media? And he goes, look, man, he broke down a day. He said, you have 24 hours in a day. I sleep 8 hours. Well, now I'm down, 8 hours. Then most people go to work for 8 hours a day. So now you're down 16 hours. And he said, then you have 3 meals a day. Maybe that's 3 hours. You're now at 19 hours of time that has been consumed. Where's your focus time? Where's your time that you're going to do? And if you're sitting on your phone doing social media, that time is gone. And you've effectively, excuse me. I think David Green was saying, man, I can just go through and I feel like at the end of the day, I accomplished something, but I really didn't accomplish anything. And I took away from family time or whatever. That's how people are approaching life. So I think that the message and what you're doing is so powerful for the people but they have to listen, right? You have to get in front of them. You have to listen. And I think that's a great effort. And that leads to my question is, what do you see for your future? What is this? What do you see for, this mission for your obsession? Is it continuing with Bigger Pockets, growing that brand and trying to get in front of as many people as possible? Or what is it, another book? Is it multiple books? Like, what do you see for Scott Trench?
Yeah, I think it's kind of moving toward that career goal of helping as many people achieve financial freedom as possible with that. So, I've got I'm like a huge nerd with all this stuff. I won't share them all, but like I have this like whole get list of lifetime goals. Then I have a 3-year picture with all those things that backs in from that. And then I have all the things I'm doing this quarter. And then I have a weekly plan, and then I have today's plan, right? And so I just back into that and kind of keep moving towards that. And that like I want to have frameworks for problems that ordinary Americans face in mass. So like Set for Life, for example, is a framework for how to go from zero to financial freedom. First Time Home Buyer, which is another book that I wrote last year around that. Actually, I forget what that one's about. But that one's about another framework for that ordinary Americans are facing with that. That was a terrible joke, but First Time Home Buyer. But like I want to try to go one by one through these big problems, maybe 10 over the course of my career, that address better than anybody else or better than anything else that's out there, common challenges that are faced in American life, like building to financial freedom, buying a first home, perhaps others that may or may not relate to finance or whatever over the future. But that's one example of a lifetime goal that I have for that. It's funny because I started out this journey with a selfish, like I want to become financially free, so I just don't have a boss anymore with this, and I can do whatever the heck I want with any day. And now my days are like, as we're recording this podcast, you're like, do you have a hard stop after the podcast? Oh yeah, every single day, every hour is regimented with that, right. With the CEO responsibilities. I have like almost no freedom over I have complete freedom over my time, and therefore I have no freedom over my time because I have something all the time. And I love that. And I relish the opportunity and the challenge with that role. And I'll do it as long as I feel like I'm the best guy for the job, or at least the shareholders of Bigger Pockets feel like I'm the best guy for the job with that. And, or both of those, or as long as both of those are true, I'll keep doing that. And then take on the next challenge after that, probably with those same kind of mission of helping people become financially free over time though. Maybe with a little less packed schedule if that day comes to pass, though. Yeah.
All right. Do you recently got married, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, last year.
Okay. And are kids in the future at all? Is that a discussion?
Yeah, we're hopefully one day with nice. That. So no particular rush, but hopefully in the next couple of years we'll have a couple of trenchlings nice. On the way.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
There goes your financial freedom, dude.
Yeah, there goes your time freedom too. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the avatar user of Bigger Pockets? Like what's kind of the normal age range of people kind of in Bigger Pockets every day?
Sure. So this is hopefully I won't be too nerdy on this one. Our typical user is 34 to 45 years old. They're overwhelmingly male, 75-80% men, something we hope to change over time. We're not sure if that's a reflection of the fact that some of our hosts are male, or or that's just a tendency of interest from the investor population. Most of them make between $50,000 and $150,000 per year in household income. They're overwhelmed. Most of our users own at least one property, but almost 95% of the people on our platform who have given us their email address at least intend to buy a property or more in the next 12 months. The vast majority of them are looking for long-term rentals. There are a lot of people who are also interested in BRRRR, which is just another strategy for getting to the long-term rental goal: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, for those who don't know what BRRRR stands for. And then short-term rentals is actually an interesting one that's exploding in popularity on our platform. It's last year, I think like 5% of people were interested in it as a strategy. And this year, 30% of people are interested in short-term rentals. So that's becoming another strategy. Almost everybody is looking for financial freedom, not necessarily to quit their job, but they want the optionality that comes from it. And almost every one of our users, 90-95% of them, have assets outside of real estate in things like stocks, crypto, gold, and other asset classes.
So two questions with that. And it's kind of for us too, because, I think we have a lot of the similar passions that you do as far as just really helping and serving and teaching and trying to, help others get, to their highest and best, right. To unlock human potential. And for me, I think a big opportunity is the younger individuals, and maybe not like our kids. I mean, although we are absolutely going to be working on that, but but that like the college kid, you went and talked to the Naval Academy. I've gone to talk to some Air Force Academy guys down in Colorado Springs. How does Bigger Pockets and how does David and Stu at Storehouse and how do guy, the 34 to 44-year-old who is on his way to financial freedom also teach the college close to being graduated about financial independence and be financially savvy, to not leave college and then just go be stupid and drink their life away and party, right? How do we get there?
I think we're too old. So I'm too old. Stu, you're probably too old, and David, you're way too old.
Yeah.
So I think that how we do that is we get younger. We get the folks that are in there that are 24, 23, 24, who are doing all of the right things and clearly on the right track, and have them showcase what they're doing, so that the next folks will follow, right? And I think that was one of the reasons why I wanted to write Set for Life when I did, is because I couldn't write that book today at 31, right? I was too right at the time, right? I knew everything with that, and it wouldn't have worked. Like I can't do that even 5 years later with that. I think it has to be coming from somebody who's in there doing that. And how do we find those people that are on the right track and give them a platform so that we can help reach those folks? Because I think the real world is too distant for a college kid. That's my frank answer to that question. What do you think?
I think it's great, man. I haven't thought about that, but yeah.
I think it also is very helpful to think of it that way, to frame your effort, right? So if we're looking for individuals to potentially mentor and try to impart some of this, and then they're, if they have the leadership abilities and desire to then invest to influence their peer group, I think that's awesome. I never thought of it that way. And I will say, you're probably going to be Stu's favorite guest, because you are literally the only guest we've ever had that hasn't spent the majority of the time that made fun of him. So, I have one thing that I want you to, if you don't mind. I think a lot of people have a misconception of financial freedom. I think when people hear financial freedom, they think I'm a millionaire, right? And if you don't mind, just kind of give your idea of what financial freedom really means. And I think that'll help people to better contextualize it for themselves, and also realize that the idea of financial freedom, the idea of becoming a millionaire, is almost too ambitious for a lot of people. It's almost too big, and so they never start. But the true idea of financial freedom is not that. And I think more people need to hear that message so that they can get started and realize that it is an achievable goal.
Well, I'll break apart the concept into two phases, right? There's financial runway and there's financial freedom, right? And so it's not an event, it's a process, right? Financial, and when I discussed this with the midshipman, I said, to a college kid, financial freedom is $5,000 in a case of natural light, right? And that changes as you graduate and get a family and things go on, right? To a family of four, financial freedom might be $1 million, and that might be the minimum, right? For that might be a bare bones financial freedom number for that person. So it's a spectrum with this. But I would say, if you think in terms of financial runway, that's something more bite-sized. So what is financial runway? It's the amount of time that you can survive without needing another paycheck, right? So if someone has $10,000 in the bank and they spend $6,000 a month, they have 1 to 2 months of financial runway. If someone has $25,000 in the bank and spends $2,000 a month, they have a year of financial runway. So it's relative to that spending. I think I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I talked about Mr. Money Mustache and the fact that if you spend less, you can accumulate more, and you need less passive income to become financially free. The exact same math applies to the financial runway component. If you can reduce the permanent long-term spending rate for you and your family, you accumulate more, and you need less wealth to have that year of financial runway. And I think options or that itch to start to try to realize the next opportunity will start really materializing for many when they have a year of financial runway. It'll become obvious that you're wasting your time at something. If you're at a job where there's a way better opportunity over here, that'll become super obvious if you have 5 years of financial runway. And, permanent financial runway is somewhere between 5 years and 30 years of time, 35 times your annual spending and 30 times your annual spending. So there's a rule that's out there called the 4. If you're looking for like, what is a concrete number that says I'm financially free, totally done, that's going to be what this concept called the 4% rule. So it says, if you have $1 million portfolio, in every market condition in modern history, you could have withdrawn 4% of that portfolio per year and never run out of money over a 30-year period. Mathematically, the difference between 30 years and forever is not that large. So if you ever start trending below your long-term goals on that asset base, you can course correct over the course of 30 years. So if you can save up 25 times your spending, or a portfolio such that you can withdraw 4% of it per year, you're done. You're financially free, according to even a really, really conservative viewpoint on that. But a better way, if that seems like too big of a goal or too distant of an objective, financial runway is something that's more concrete that you can build within a matter of a few years to begin pursuing some more of those opportunities. And you'll have better and better options, and I think a better and better day-to-day life as that runway extends, even before you hit permanent financial freedom.
And I love that. And thank you for doing that and breaking that down so well, because I think it shows that people can have a bite-sized approach to this. And it's also iterative, right? So as you get that year, to get the second year, all the lessons you learned for the first year, it's not like another year to get the second year. You are just going to continue to the opportunities that arise, whether it's from your human capital that you freed or the opportunities through networking or whatever it is. Like you said, those opportunities will become so obvious because you're not so myopically focused on, I need to pay the mortgage next month, right? And so I think if we could get out of our own way in a lot of these situations and recognize, okay, it's not a home run. You don't have to hit a home run to achieve this runway. You could hit a couple singles. And when you hit singles, those accumulate into runs, and then those will accumulate into better and better and better, whatever it is, deals, investments, opportunities, network of folks to present that kind of stuff. And I think that, excuse me, that idea is, I mean, you said it beautifully, right? I think it really helps to frame that and shows that we can achieve this. And it's not, something that's out of our reach, out of our grasp.
Yeah. Even like another twist I like to add to that, like hit singles, right? Is there's 4 levers you can pull to build wealth. You can spend less, earn more, invest, and create, right? Create, you can build a business or create an asset. And I think it's important to have a formula that will just get you to where you need to get to over time, right? That's what most people, I think, grasp and understand. I save $500 a month, compound interest carries me to $1 bajillion over, 50 years with that invested at this rate. That's great. You need that formula, and your month to month, you should have a system month to month for applying that formula. But I think if you focus on flexibility in the first year or two and ignore that formula, or at least heavily weight flexibility first, then you can apply that formula for the next 30 years. Know you're going to hit that goal, but you can also seize a couple of those opportunities that might just turbocharge you past your goal, like starting a podcast, like what you guys are doing, or whatever it is, right? Those are the things that outside of your nice, clean spreadsheet can bring about those dreams way, way faster, right? And that's where having, I think, that flexibility and being prepared to use it to make that career leap or start that business or buy that house hack or rental property. Those are things that I think can turbocharge it. And I think having both of those concepts in your mind is hard. They can't be done simultaneously, but understanding the value of both in a practical way, I think if you don't do that, you're going to miss one of those.
I love it, man. That's good stuff. Well, dude, I know we're kind of running to the end of time here, but I got one more like super important question for you here. And we just had a snow, and David was making fun of me on the last podcast recording that we had when I told him I'd just finished up using my snow blower to get all the snow off of my driveway. So question for you, Scott, do you use a snow blower or do you shovel your snow off of your driveway? Super important question.
I got a way better answer than that for this. I rent. I own a bunch of rental property. I rent. So I got a landlord who takes care of that stuff. So this is
okay. Okay. That's a great answer.
It is a good answer.
If you were to remove snow, would you use your able body, or would you rely on a machine to do it?
All right. So if I didn't have a landlord, and if there were no neighborhood children, I couldn't overpay to do that for me.
Wrong dude to ask, man.
Then I would probably use a shovel. And the only reason is because getting the freaking snowblowing machine seems like more of a production than actually just shoveling the driveway with it. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Wrong dude to ask. Wrong dude to ask.
It's like, I would do anything to not do it at all.
Right.
So basically,
I would hire somebody to do that.
In Colorado also. First of all, I would buy a house in Colorado that faces south. Because you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Okay. That's the best answer.
See, I think of it differently. My house, my backyard faces south, so I have to shovel. But while I'm shoveling, I'm meditating. I'm listening to. Today I was shoveling, listening to Bigger Pockets episode. A lot of good stuff was happening. I was getting a little bit of a workout. I haven't gotten that with this COVID, so I actually enjoyed my time shoveling quite a bit.
I have become quite soft with these types of things. So you're asking the wrong guy on this one.
That's hilarious. Well, Stuart has too. He's I got a manly beard. That's about where it stops.
Yeah. I can't grow.
I don't even have that. Yeah.
I get too itchy and then I got to shave it. I've been used to shaving for 20 years.
Hey, Scott, before we sign off, I know you got to run and you're a busy man, but hey, dude, I just want to thank you so much. I want to encourage you. When I read your book, when we pass your book out, when we talk about you and we try to get you in front of, see you in front of midshipmen. And I know that we're probably going to try to get you and in front of some other young groups that we see as future leaders, future influencers. Your willingness to do that, your love, I'll characterize it as love, because I don't see any other way that you could put so much passion into trying to help other people achieve their highest and best, to unlock their potential, to unlock their capacity so they can live the best lives they can live, is such a unselfish agenda. And I'll tell you, you're making huge impacts in areas that you don't even know, and you won't know in this lifetime. But I just am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to be on for us, a very special 100th episode of a podcast. And we've learned a lot from you. You've mentored us in a ton of ways, whether it's through the book, or the podcast, or things again that you're not even tracking, and just so grateful for you, my brother. And just hopefully you're encouraged to continue to crush it, to do amazing things, to help people to be the best that they can be. And we're just very grateful for you, Scott.
Well, thank you very much. That was a really nice thing to say, and I really appreciate it. And it's fun, and congratulations on 100 episodes, and very grateful and honored that you guys selected me to be the guest today. So thank you.
Yeah, man, this was fun. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can see you in real life soon. Maybe we'll catch each other soon. But guys and gals, hey, if you're not on Bigger Pockets, go check out biggerpockets.com. Go get Scott's book, Set for Life. Go listen to Scott on Bigger Pockets Money podcast. All amazing tools to grow your knowledge for your self-education. And hey, if you like this episode, please share it. We'd love to see some shares out there. Tell people about it. This is 100 episodes deep. This is awesome. And Dave, you got anything else?
No, man. One thing, Scott, I'm claiming for you 20, not 10. I think 10, you're limiting yourself. So 20 more, or 20, I guess that's 18 more books that you're going to put out. I think 10 is limiting how much you have to offer.
But they got to be. I need to feel like they're the best ones on that subject. So that would be where I want to. Yeah, we'll see.
No doubts. All right, brother.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
No, thank you. Hey, appreciate it. Everybody out there listening, thank you for coming on this journey with us for 100 episodes. Hopefully we have hundreds more in us, and this is meaningful and valuable to you. And go for your storehouse, right, Stu?
That's right. Make it a great day.
See ya. All right, team. See ya.